All right, well, welcome back everyone to the Monday afternoon session of Automate Live. My name is Jake Hall, the Manufacturing Millennial, and we are super excited to bring back more amazing conversations about the technology, solutions, and people that are affecting this industry. I'm joined by a very special guest today, David Lynn, who is the Sales Director for North America for Modula. David, how are you doing today?
Nice to meet you, Jake.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So to kick things off a little bit, there's a lot of really interesting technology that's being showcased here at Automate. But I think one that probably a lot of people are not familiar with within North America is vertical lift modules, which is what Modula specializes
Absolutely.
in. So can you guys go into a background of who's Modula as a company to start with? Where did you guys get started and what are you doing now?
It's a great question. So it's quite correct. Modula and our vertical lift modules are really well known across the world, in Europe and in Asia, and lately becoming more and more popular in the US. We're a 30-year-old company that began making these when our president and founder, who's still with us today, was working in the ceramics industry and found he had too much stuff on the floor of his ceramics factory and wanted to get stuff off the floor. We designed the first, what is today, the vertical lift module. So for 30 years, you can imagine the amount of innovation that's gone into it to make it what it is today. The VLM, the vertical lift module, basically gives you a really high compaction of storage on a really tiny footprint. So in manufacturing, distribution, fulfillment, it's a massive asset to any organization.
Absolutely. And I remember walking into a lot of manufacturing facilities and you walk into the crib or you walk into the section where they're storing all of either their components that need to be machined or manufactured to get ready for production. And a lot of times they're unorganized. You don't know where products are stored. And I think, and a lot of times they're super spread out. And you walk into some crib areas and it could be half the size of a manufacturing facility that is just spare parts. So why does it matter, or why are more companies going vertical in this case?
Time is money, I guess, is the first thing, right?
Yeah.
Time is money and people are money. So if you have to do all that walking, someone's got to do the walking, and in walking you're not really being very productive. Think of a grocery store. Yeah? They want you in, picking your own stuff and getting out of there. In a parts and in an MRO scenario in a factory, you want to get your parts as fast as you can to the individual who's doing the work, the kitting, the picking, the assembly, and having to go off and find it. And often parts can either look the same or very similar. So it's easy to make mistakes. So the VLM will give you access to that part in seconds, goods to person technology, with lots and lots of identification technology to make sure you're picking the right stuff. Why are people doing it now? So in Europe, we've been more constrained for space than you have in the US, right? Depends where you are, of course, in the US. Our factory's in just north of Cincinnati, Ohio, where once upon a time you could just build out and build wide and build low.
Yeah.
We're finding that more and more people are building higher. But if you just think of it on a really basic road, my first job out of college was driving trucks. And if a truck isn't full, either on the weight capacity or on the volume capacity, you're driving air around.
Yeah.
And you're just, you're wasting an opportunity to earn more money. And a building is exactly the same.
Yeah.
So most people who have a building occupied with shelving or racking, maybe going up to about 6-10 feet high. Everything above that is air.
Yes.
You're paying for it, right?
Absolutely.
But you're not
Absolutely.
you're not utilizing it. So if you can utilize it and find a way to utilize that air, then your building cost is coming down potentially half price. Now, if you think about goods to person technology, all the time you're wasting walking, selecting, finding, identifying, that time then is people. You need more people to do the job.
100%.
So you need less people to do the job. But again, it's not a very difficult job. So if you've got an employee who's loyal to your organization, you've got doing that, they may end up leaving because they're bored. So if you can organize that with fewer people and deploy your loyal staff doing something smarter, doing something more value driven, then you're going to have a better organization.
100%. A few things I want to touch on with that is, you mentioned Central Ohio, so if anyone's driving down the I-75 corridor, they're on the west-hand side, beautiful building. When was that building made?
So that building's got a funny story. That building was made back in the 90s, 1999, I think it was commissioned. It's an absolutely beautiful building. The roof of the building apparently mirrors the flight path of the Kitty Hawk.
No kidding.
Right, that's the idea. It was built for the Dayton Daily News, and it coincided a little bit with the arrival of the internet.
Yeah.
So it didn't have a very long industrious career as the manufacturing site for the Dayton Daily News. They used to print in there the New York Times, the Washington Post, and then ship it out from there for the Midwest readers. It didn't last very long. It lay vacant for probably 10 years, and we saw it and thought, that's a beautiful home for us. Ohio and the southern Ohio, specifically for logistics, is a great location. We landed here in Maine, just near Portland, Maine, and we were manufacturing there. It's a beautiful area, but not quite central enough for our clients, which are all in the manufacturing belt. So we ship out from our Franklin, Ohio. If any of you are watching Jake's podcast, please drop by. We'd love to see you at our site. We've got lots and lots of technology in there. It's a fully automated factory. It's state-of-the-art, Industry 4.0. Come in and say hello and come and see what we've got.
Yeah, absolutely. So diving back into, you made a really good comment. You've been in the 3PL space for decades. Yeah. And I think one of the big things is a lot of times good to services or goods to people, a lot of times accurate goods to people. And I think a lot of times in the case where it's hard to get reliable people who are well-trained, who are motivated, who are skilled to be able to pick the right parts. And a lot of times that the VLM solutions are solving those problems. Because I think product identifying is a tough thing in a lot of cases, right? Going back in there, trying to find the right part, trying to find the spare part. But can you talk more about the technology that's built into VLMs? And really it's not just taking storage and making it vertical, it's making storage smart.
Yeah, and there's so much smart technology in there now. You can imagine 30 years of evolution. Modula is very good at listening and visiting our customers. So, I brought our president, he's in the later years of his life, came to visit us in Ohio in January. He insisted on visiting our local customers to come and see how they're using the VLM. That's the president.
Yes.
So think of the DNA of the organization.
Yeah.
We're a very curious organization. So what's been built into that now is all sorts of stuff. So picture that you've got a potentially 40-foot tall vertical lift module. Goods that are accessed more often, the trays remain lower down the VLM to give you a faster throughput. So there's some algorithm there that help with that. You can also provide access to certain trays for certain people. So you can restrict access to certain trays, high value assets and things like that, so that all depending on who's picking, you can actually decide who has access to what tray.
That's a great point as well, is you're keeping the product secure rather than just in an open crib or an open warehouse.
When the VLM has given you the product and it's brought the tray back inside it, the door shuts down, you can't see what's in there. There's no temptation, no moving fingers to go in there and pick an extra one or two.
Yeah.
It's locked down tight. You can't get in without going in by a badge. But also, if you think about the picking, so our customers tell us that the picking error cost is a significant part, because first of all, it's the time that took to go and pick it originally. Then there's the customer who's less than happy when they get the wrong part. They got to ship it back again because quite often it's a maintenance and repair scenario. Then you're delaying the maintenance and repair operation. So we've got infrared lights that shine down on the specific object. We've got LED bar that goes across the top of the machine, which is telling you part number you're picking, number you're putting, and an arrow. And then on the console that's sliding in front of the parts, you've actually got another outlay of the tray saying this is where you're picking from.
Yeah.
So there's three means of indicating it. Plus, we've got a LED screen which you can have as an option in front of it, which will give you a photograph of the part you're picking.
Oh, there you go.
So it really is down to the operator. If you really want to pick the wrong part, you can pick the wrong part, okay? However, you'll be giving you every possible chance not to. Our customers tell us that it's one of the most important elements of the VLM. Obviously, compact storage is phenomenal, right? You've got 120 square foot of floor print carrying up to 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 square foot of product. You've got the speed that's getting down to you very, very quickly. It allows you to get more throughput through your building. So if you're manufacturing X widgets per day, you'll manufacture more because your operators can pick them faster and get them onto the line. You can store more parts in your factory. So there's a significant number of areas. The compact storage is one of them. It's probably the first one, but it's by no means the most important one.
So let's dive a little bit more into your customers. When we think about integrating these vertical solutions, does it matter if it's a brownfield facility or a greenfield facility? When we have companies that say, I'm running out of space, I want to increase or I want to make the time that we're picking the parts more productive. What do these customers need to be looking for when selecting a VLM or the type of solution? And does it matter if they're in a brownfield or a greenfield facility?
Great question, Jake. So we would love if people would come to us before they went and built the building.
Yeah.
Because we've got almost 60-foot tall VLMs in our factory. Think of the high density you're getting in a factory that's in a building at 60-foot high ceilings. Yeah. You're getting 8,000 square foot of parts on 120 square foot of footprint.
Absolutely.
Think about what it costs you to build a parts facility.
Yeah.
Yeah, $50 a square foot, and you're spending $1 million in a facility. That'll cost you a fraction of that in a VLM. So The first thing is, if you're building a new building, think of going high. But retrofitting is most of what we do.
Yeah.
Most people have racking and shelving, and they've got, I'm running out of space. What can I do? We'll give you 10 times more space on a tiny, tiny footprint.
So when we look at industries, you come from a 3PL background. We're in an industry that has, really focused on automation and manufacturing. Does it matter the industry, and is VLM really just able to support really any type of end user?
Yeah, 100%. The VLM can sit in any facility. Manufacturing, distribution, fulfillment. To go from the smallest, we've got one, I recall, in a hardware store. A bit like your Ace hardware store. They keep all the parts in that, so you go in, you can pick off a tray, all the way to one of our more significant airplane manufacturers or tier 1 manufacturers. Any blue chip company you can think of has got a VLM in there in some parts of its facility. So everybody, pharma, food, grocery, everything.
So as we wrap up, one final question, what are some of the biggest changes that you're seeing in the industry? You talked about your experience of walking the show in previous years and you being in the industry for a long time. What just is exciting you about the future of automation, future of VLMs, future of not just VLMs, but collaboration of VLMs with mobile robotics?
Love it. That's a great question again. So what's really exciting is once upon a time, the VLM was a standalone unit.
Yeah.
Just replacing racking and shelving. Now the challenges that our customers are coming in with is how can I integrate that with other robotics in my facility? So they're really looking to integrate robotics, AMRs, cobots. So in our facility in Franklin and in many facilities around the world, we've got robots, cobots, and AMRs that drive up and pick off trays, drive up to the back of them. We will, as much as possible, follow our customers and re-engineer trays to allow that to happen. And that's really where it's going. So lights out manufacturing, where the VLM can shuffle product around it and provide the pickers in the morning with exactly what they need, when they need it, and really cutting down on wasted time and wasted space.
And I think it's really what's making this technology exciting going into the future is the collaboration with multiple systems, not just going out and just providing one solution that's a standalone that, it just works completely by itself, but when you're able to work with a lot of other companies, that makes it exciting.
Yeah. Think about when you started with your mechanical engineering degree in university. You got the 101 course, right?
Yeah.
Well, the VLM is a little bit like the 101 course. It's probably the first piece of technology that could go in. If you want to adopt and move into automation, it's probably the safest, easiest place to move in. Plus, it allows for all the other automation because everything else can play off of the VLM.
Absolutely.
You can't pick out of a racking system easily or trays with cobots and with AMRs. The VLM will give you massive compaction and allow you to use any kind of technology to pick off it. So it really is automation 101 for any facility. Reasonably low cost, very fast ROI, 9 to 18 months. I think that's why we're seeing such an enormous pickup and take up by the market on our vertical lift modules.
Awesome. Well, with over 40,000 installations worldwide, Modula is doing a lot. And David, I really want to appreciate you and thank you for your time today, sharing with the audience here about what's happening in the vertical lift market. Of course, we look forward to sharing more information, and hopefully, if you're watching this right now, swing by and visit their booth. We'll see you guys soon.
Thank you very much.